Gather, veterans. It's time to join the fight. The long war begins.
This is The Long War. I'm Robbie B. And joining me once again are my partners in crime, Kenny Boucher, Stephen Fore, and Mike Haspil. What's up, guys?
Yo, dog, great to be here.
Hey, what's happening, everybody?
Hey, everyone. What's going on?
So, do you think the orcs got lost in all these hurricanes we've been having? I feel like...
It's almost like back-to-back hurricane season.
Well, it's been a month. It's actually been almost a month to the day almost.
I'll say, not enough hurricanes. I can't remember a time there wasn't a hurricane.
Literally to the day, because I had to cancel because that Wednesday night a month ago today, then I was contacted by the Red Cross to be like, hey, we might need you to feed 2,000 people. I was like, I feel like I need to prepare for this. So I had 12 hours.
12 hours. So real quick, just so we're on task and we're consistent. Any good poop stories happened to us very recently, as recently as maybe 45 minutes ago?
Yeah. So anybody who was watching the webcast saw me kind of like abruptly sign off.
I thought there was like real world shit was happening in Haspil.
That is an accurate description. That is an accurate description of what was happening. It was like I looked down at the little clock on the corner of your, the screen and went, how long have we been on? How long until we get off? And then immediately it was like, not going to make it.
Let me hit you with this. So did that clock say 42 seconds?
Yeah, it was bad. It was just like.
Not enough time.
Not enough time. And then by the time I had signed off and got up, it was like, I'm not going to make it. But I made it. And for an accurate blow by blow, if you're into that, just go and watch a segment by Tom Segura on YouTube that's called Diarrhea Isn't Normal.
Throw it up in the chat. If you're watching this live, we got a treat for you.
The poop diaries of the Long War.
We are consistent, to say the least.
Yep.
I just wanted to show you that we're professionals and we stick to our segments.
Yeah. I also want to say, Haspil, how real it is. Like, sometimes when you're at your house and in the comfort of your own beats lab, you're like, I have time. I'm going to make this happen. Right? Like, I won't shit myself in my own house. But like, Haspil understood the concept of like, this is reality. If I don't stop what I'm doing right now, it's going to happen.
Yeah. It was not pleasant.
There it is. I love it.
It is, for those of you who are following like the Coast Commanders, that was a blown beehole failed save is what happened.
Blown beehole check failed. Find the nearest bathroom, lose a turn of looting, and abandon your teammates to the zombies.
Zombie cats.
Yeah,
somebody just died on that roll right there. Absolutely.
Which I love, because now, I mean, it's like if you're following the Coast Commanders, it's like blown beehole is the blown beehole special rule. It turns so many different rules branch off back into it. It's like it always comes back to that.
We need to have a card that's called Dissin, like Dissin, and then Terry, like the name Terry.
Yeah,
that has to be a
like
special,
dysentery.
Put it in reverse, Terry.
Yo.
All right, so professionalism aside, we are consummate professionals. Rob, would you like to do some news, please?
Oh man, I got to do real work. Okay. So coming in this week, new releases from Games Workshop. We're gonna have the new Warhounds. Everybody's favorite game that you'll never play. It's some of the best rules out there. Adeptus Titanicus. I strongly encourage everybody to at least get a demo and try it. It's a solid game, solid rules. Also, another solid game with solid rules. Night Vault, the crime-solving vault, has 2 new warbands coming out this week. They'll be in stores this week. The Thousand Suns and the Grotz, the sassiest of all greenskins, will be out. Night Vault's actually pretty fun. I've been playing a lot of it. Really cool mechanics in it with casting. Not everybody's going to get them, but something else I noticed and can definitely recommend is pick up the pack of leader cards that came out in the summer. It's like 30 card pack of cards. And there's some really good stuff in there just on the movement side of things that you'll definitely have a blast with for sure. Pre-orders going up, lots and lots of Kill Team. And I don't know about you guys, but I think Kill Team might be in danger of jumping the shark a bit here. Now we've seen some of how the mechanics work, but there's a lot of folks out there that are kind of like on the fence if, having a special character on such small points of games, especially when you can literally give the Dark Eldar stuff like a Shadow Field. Like, do they really need a 2-up save in that scale? I don't know. I know you could never, in the smaller scale games like Lunch Hammer and stuff, you can never take a 2-up save, right? You can never have a toughness 5 dude.
Yeah, in the old patrol, the old combat patrol days, they had all those rules. Yeah,
right, exactly. So now we got where this is happening with these commanders, and they can cast psychic abilities and all this stuff, and it's like, oh man, okay, well, I guess we'll see how it goes. So coming out next week on pre-order, releasing next week, going on pre-order this week, is the new Kill Team Commanders expansion for $60 US. Keep in mind, the rulebook for Kill Team itself is $40. So if you want to jump in on this, theoretically, all you have to buy is the rulebook and the Commander expansion for a fat Hondi. Then there's a whole bunch of actual Kill Team Commander expansions coming out for $35. There's 8 of them, I think, coming out this week, and I'm sure there'll be a lot more on the way. There's 40 some different commanders you can actually field in the Commander expansion.
Wow.
But this is going to bring up an interesting point, and we saw this with Necromunda. And Haspil, I'm sure your chip will go off at some point during this conversation. Games Workshop has kind of seemed to have geared everybody to look for the bundle, look for the deal, right? On all these box sets that come out. Like, oh, I can get this Kill Team, and it comes with a squad, and it comes with some terrain, and it comes with, some dope tokens, and you get some of the tactics cards. And for the price, you actually get more in the box value-wise just off the models themselves.
Which I think is a genius marketing tool, especially when you yourself get to define the value of such items in the bundle, so you can inflate that to whatever number you want for the perceived deal to seem even stronger.
Right, exactly. But here's the thing. With these commander sets going for $35, a lot of the models that we've seen that are confirmed in there, and I have some suspicions about some other ones, that it's going to be really interesting to see what the orc is, the orc war boss. Because if you go by the art, he looks like the orc war boss that came in Blackreach back in 2006. And if that's the case, I'm sure you can all remember that one.
Oh my God. If you do that, GW, you recycle that snap kit old ass war boss.
It might not be. It might be the guy.
But it does speak to the genius. You can value your own product or whatever you want. Therefore, the perceived deal is amazing.
Well, I will say that was the unicorn kit that gave us Death Copters.
That's true.
One Death Copter.
I was referring to if you bought multiple.
No, you got more, but it was like
you got 3.
Yeah, I bought. Trust me, I scoured eBay for a lot of those.
Oh yeah,
I courted the market at one point.
Yes. So also it could be, somebody said in a chat, the guy from Stormclaw in 2014, it could be Face Ripper. It's hard to say. They showed Face Ripper in a picture today, but if you go by the artwork, it's the exact same pose as the Blackreach guy. So I'm not saying it is or isn't, because we haven't seen pictures. We don't have empirical proof, so we can't really speak to that. But we can speak to some of the ones that are in there. And what's cool is some of those commander boxes will have models that haven't been released individually yet, which is really neat to see. And it gives them a tremendous opportunity to kind of open the vault, so to speak, and throw guys in there. But it's going to be almost like they're throwing something at the wall and see if it sticks, because these are the kits that they're putting a premium on the rules themselves in there, right? So you're getting anywhere from a $15 to a $25 figure with additional content for $35. So that's going to be really interesting. I've talked to a lot of retailers this week, and I'm like, what are you thinking about commanders? I was like, this is very interesting what they're releasing here and in the format. And a lot of folks are like, I don't know, I'm not going to order heavy on it. And I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't either. But it's going to be interesting. We saw it with Necromunda. You didn't really get a value out of the Necromunda box. You got more of a value based on the content and the rules. Sort of the same way with Adeptus Titanicus. If you happen to get the Grandmaster Edition, solid value. But again, those were few and far between. So I'm not sure. It's going to be very interesting to kind of see how all that sorts out, I feel like, at this point. But if you are getting tired of 40K and all the FAQs and all the drama and all the people, all the orc fans all over Facebook asking where the orcs are, well, there's two solid games out there that I can definitely recommend: Adeptus Titanicus and Nightvault. Both solid games.
Rob, where are the orcs? Where are my fucking orcs? It's been 10 fucking days.
It's been 10 days. This is October. They're supposed to be here day one.
They said release date Orktober, which to me means the entire month of October is nonstop orc releases. What the literal fuck?
And I will throw this out there. GW is role playing, because when are orcs ever on time or do anything like by force of will, right? So they just literally get on an asteroid and hope it goes to another planet. They take it, right?
I love it. GW is absolutely trolling the shit out of us. Their American influence with picking up people like Frankie and Jeff Robinson is coming to fruition, and we're seeing reaping all the positive and hilarious troll benefits of it. Mm-hmm. Damn it. The FAQ said that it would be out in September, and guess what? September 32nd, it came out. Okay, like it's happening. October 33rd is when we're gonna get all our orcs, and it's gonna be right on time. So let's everybody relax and let it happen. See what I did there?
Yes, it was an old song. I got it though.
Was that like Falco? What was that?
Yep.
Yes.
So no, that does not satisfy me. GW, I earned these orcs.
Maybe they're using like a Julian calendar or something.
No, actually, and it's funny that you said, I mean, I agree with I think it's honestly just a mistake. I think that they put out like a car commercial themed promo. And then and I think someone in their promotion department was like, cool, you know, like how car dealerships are like November to remember sale and blah, blah, blah. And I think they're like, yo, we're going to call it Orktober. We're going to launch with a couple like car things. There might be even a car commercial. And we're just going to go cool and just keep tying these themes together without realizing that the market is highly conditioned to knowing more information than we've ever known before. We want to know these release dates. We want to know when the movie's in theaters. We want to see a trailer and then in theaters this date. We want to know these things. So GW typically hints at things, then dates become available mere days beforehand in some situations. By saying October, they kind of accidentally, I believe, made us all think that like it's all month long. So luckily it's been October and Orktember on Next Level Painting on Twitch for 30, 40 days now. So I'm getting my fix.
Yeah, I think we all are, especially it's given us a tremendous opportunity to help promote some of those independent companies out there like Cromlech, you know, Artel Miniatures, Mantic even, you know, there's a ton. Yep. Spellcrow, 3D Art Digital. There you go. Tons and tons of companies out there with great orc models that will look awesome in your army. And as long as you don't care about being streamed.
Hey. I challenge GW to look in my 400 orc army and pick out the one pain boy, not the one pain boy who's made by Spellcrow.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think as well. It's going to be very hard to pick these things out.
Don't tempt me. Don't make me do it because I will. I'll find it.
Yep.
Haspil, what else we got?
Oh, well, yesterday on the 9th of October, for people who may be listening to this later, a game called Space Hulk Tactics came out. And it is another variant of Space Hulk. Right now, we've got, I think, 4 Space Hulk games out. We had like a Space Hulk game that was like very tablet, top-down kind of game, which was I thought, a faithful adaptation of the board game, but a lot of people didn't like that it did not take advantage of what a computer or a tablet game could do. So they came out with essentially a modded version of that called Space Hulk Ascension, which introduced some kind of customization, some RPG elements where if your guys survived, they ranked up, stuff like that. Then, of course, we have Space Hulk Deathwing. When it initially came out for PC, I really, really, really wanted to like it. And it was so buggy that I know I played with a couple of folks, a couple of listeners, veterans of the Long War. I played it with my friends. We literally couldn't get through certain levels because you couldn't open a door or something like that. It was just like really, really stupid bugs that really crippled it. And by the time they fixed all the bugs, everyone had moved on. No one really wanted to play it. Now they came out with once they released it for the PS4, they came out with like a special edition of Deathwing, which for the PC was free. So I didn't gripe about it. And I've played the whole thing by myself because my friends are playing Overwatch or other stuff, so and they don't want to play it anymore. But all the problems I had with it initially were fixed, and I think it's a really good game now. But I think it's suffered from its initial release. What a lot of companies do is they release it for the PC. It's really not even a polished beta, and they hope to, patch it and release it for consoles later. And I think that really hurt them on this one. And then now we have Space Hulk Tactics, which is more of it reminds me of XCOM. I haven't had a chance to play it yet. But it does remind me of games like XCOM. It's more of a top-down kind of game. And now it's not just straight top-down. You can actually move the camera around and move it. But it also has some kind of a card mechanic that I'm not entirely sure how that works on top of the dice. And what's cool is they actually have the dice rolling on there and stuff.
It kind of reminds me of that one tablet game, Space Wolf, where it is kind of an XCOM vibe. There is a card mechanic for like war gear and relics and other armor and things, and you're seeing dice being rolled to determine the percentages. If the sniper scout hits this fool.
But it looks really good. I already bought it, installed it, but it was just frankly too late. I couldn't get a game in. And one of the things I did see, and I can't confirm this again because I was like in and out of the game. I just turned it on, went, hey, this looks really cool. Just started looking at different things, but it looks like you can play as the Gene Stealers, which is the first time I think you can do that. And there is actually multiplayer too, competitive multiplayer, which I think is actually really, really, that's the first time I think they've really done that in Space Hulk. One of the other games you could play as the Gene Stealers, but it was essentially a clone of the board game. This looks like it's different in that some of the Gene Stealers can take some customization. They can take some essentially war gear to buff their guys up.
Haspil, it's only taken me 4 to 6 years of my life to make sure everybody understands that it's the good guys of the universe deserve to be have a little playtime also. Thank you, TW, for finally making that happen. We can put all these terrible human beings to rest.
And if you're listening now, although I think it goes for maybe another day, XCOM, the new XCOM, is on sale on Steam right now. And they're having, I guess, a free weekend or something. So if you've never checked out XCOM and you want to check it out, I will warn you, it is a time vampire, but it is probably my single favorite tactical game ever. I absolutely adore it. And if you want to play it right, name all your soldiers, people that you like, and then play it on Iron Man mode. And that way you will feel the pain when Kenny Boucher takes a gray commander shot to the head. Why couldn't it be a Stephen Fore takes a? It could be. It could be like we've all died. To the balls. Let me put it this way. None of us have made it through an entire campaign. I always put us in there and we all die. Coast commanders, the coast commanders never make it. Blown beeholes all around.
Because we diss Terry. Can't be dissing Terry.
So it's a lot of fun, and you can check that out as well. And also, this is not really a tabletop marketplace thing. There was a short film, and I'm remiss in not knowing who made this. It's called Guardsman. I think that's what it's called, right?
Oh, did they actually put that trailer out?
It's out. I watched the whole thing. And it was really cool. It's a very, very short film. Really short. It's like maybe 5 or 6 minutes long. So it's about on par with the life expectancy of a guardsman.
Yeah, exactly.
But
it is. Okay.
But it was really good.
10 hours ago.
Yeah, it just came out today. So hop on the YouTubes and give that a watch and a thumbs up.
Tight.
That's really all I've got.
Anything before the commercial break, Rob?
No, I think we covered it all. Unless you know where the orcs are.
Oh, I have them all right here on my desk. Actually, I've got.
they're in your kitchen.
I have them all in my.
I just thought about this. How awesome would it be if GW put out all the orc stuff for the Middle Earth strategy battle game?
Oh my God. The troll. Then it would support Juice's theory that they're trolling us.
The very next day, I would read the headline like Nottingham burns as hobbyists. You know what I mean? Like
riots take over the streets, pitchforks, and mayhem occur.
Yep.
All right. Well, then let's take a quick commercial break, and then on the flip side, we're going to talk about the 3 potential fixes to the new big GW FAQ and how we would fix this game. Finally, the Long War swag is here. LongWarSwag.com, the official home of Long War merchandise. We've got a range of merchandise exclusive to the Long War brand, next level painting and spiky bits. Definitely log in today while supplies lasts. Veterans, I've got news for you. Get your best deals online at dicehead.com. Long War Vets, call or email for your best vet deals. That's dicehead.com. elricshobbies.com is your exclusive portal to upgrading your hobby. When you sign up at thelongwar.net, you gain an instant promotional discount good for 10% off at Elric's Hobbies. elricshobbies.com.
Dear veterans, quickly, make your way to thelongwar.net and find out how to reap your hard-earned spoils of this long war. For our allies at secretweaponsminiatures.com have rewarded us all with an extra 10% discount on all Secret Weapon Miniatures merchandise. So stock up, dear veterans, and enjoy.
And we're back. We're going to be doing a segment called Top 3 Fixes, 40K Big FAQ Edition. And we're going to be covering 3 major points that we discussed earlier. First one on deck, we're just going to go in the order that they came to us. They just popped in the old head in this particular order. Deep Strike Beta Fix. We have proposed 2 ways, potentially, which would be, I'm going to summarize it and then I'm going to turn it over to Juice. Take away all loopholes or entirely repeal it, because it's no longer a beta, it's real life. Juice, what made the final cut on Deep Strike?
So when we break it down, there's only 1 or 2 true winners of this, because everybody is a loser unless you are a Zangor that has the what relic, Kenny?
Dark Matter Crystal. It's a relic that the Thousand Suns have access to.
It's basically the Dark Matter Crystal and Unobtainium are the 2 things in the universe that matter. One makes all blue people really strong, and one makes everyone else be able to deep strike and swing at you turn 1.
Yeah, for the sake of just accuracy, the Dark Matter Crystal is a relic. You can put it on a dude. It says either the dude or any Thousand Suns infantry unit within 6 inches can basically be taken off the table and then replaced somewhere else up to 9 inches away from the enemy, which technically is totally fine. GW said that people who start the game on the table can still be thrown around the table. They can do all the crazy psychic powers and everything. And so Dark Matter Crystal, you really see it predominantly with people running a 30-man Zangor squad. with all the psychic powers. But just to be fair, Blood Angels have a really good one that you also see in the best list in the game. So, but the problem is I think what you're about to say is there's other people, like the Orcs can do it, Grey Knights can do it, but it really comes down to what combos do those other armies have versus these armies. Right now, you're telling me Blood Angels, when they do it, they can make their dudes ridiculous, and when Zangors do it, they can make their dudes ridiculous. So currently only 2 people really, to my knowledge, can do it at a high level.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say, is all deep strike in turn 1 is not created equal. That's left because Orcs at the end of the day still have to make a 9-inch charge. Grey Knights still have to make a 9-inch charge. And furthermore, no one has access to what the Zangors do, which is pick a 30-man unit up, not 20, not anything else, not single models, a 30-man unit up, pick them up, and then potentially in the same turn cast Warp Time on them.
Yeah.
So now they are 2 inches away from you.
Yeah, to go hard on it, it's going to be Warp Time Prescient, so they're going to be +1 to hit. They're going to move again. They're going to take Weaver, so they're going to take a Warp Invulnerable. You're going to try to cast Glamour. They're going to be -1 to hit. Yeah, if you're like playing it like the way I do, I'm going to throw a Boon on them. Maybe they're +1 Toughness. Maybe they're T5 suddenly. Maybe they're +1 Attack, +1 Strength. I'm going to throw 1 CP. They're going to be +1 to wound. I'm going to throw another 2 CP. They're going to fight again. That's the combo, right? So because of all those things coming together, and only they have it, and then Blood Angels have come off the table, land again, 3d6 charge, no Overwatch, fight twice, multiple different ways, extra D3 attacks, +1 to wound. So like, there's really only 2 people who can do it. They do it in 2 different ways. One of them does it on a 32mm base and sneaks into a place and takes out a knight. One of them sneaks in, can also take out a knight, but also can clear like 100 infantry models. So
that's exactly. I just wanted to hone in one more second on this. Is the 2 units that utilize it potentially best, and we're just talking about turn 1 deep strike, and we're overlooking even potentially like the Shining Spears element that have quickening and soul bursting and everything else like that.
That's at a later point in this.
We're going to save, even though we could lump them in this turn 1 alpha strike, deep strike concept, we're going to lump them into a category later. But what I do want to hone in on is that these 2 units that abuse this ability the most do it in different facets of the game. You alluded to the Blood Angels having the 32mm base it is so hard to defend against that because you can kind of zone block someone out. You can kind of do things like that. But when you're telling me that you have to defend against a 32mm base at any point in time, that doesn't leave very much room for error. And also, Kenny, I'd like to touch on something that we haven't spoke about. It also leaves room for error for, in my opinion, the concept of sloppy play for opponents to just say, my intent to say, I am here. My intent is, I know I'm not going to move my models, but my intent is to play a perfect game. My intent is to zone block you out. My intent is this. It's easier when there's a 10-man unit or a 20-man unit or 30 Zangors to say, hey, my intent is to make sure this big-ass unit can't do what I want. But it's a little more diluted, and the concept of intent doesn't hold the same meaning when you're telling me that you almost have to play, I won't say a Sean Naden perfect type game to potentially zone block out a 32mm base the entire time. But in my also opinion, it's not acceptable to say intent. So I don't have to actually think about the game anymore. I just get to say that phrase to keep you from potentially kicking my ass with the 32mm base. So I know I went off on a little bit of a tangent.
I want to touch in real quick on a chat. George came in clutch. I'm so glad he brought this up because this is something I brought up when the beta FAQ dropped. This is a rulebook FAQ. When you take a unit off the table and redeploy them, it counts as reinforcements. Reinforcements in the rulebook FAQ says you cannot move again for any reason except to charge. Yep, I pulled that argument too. And then it turns out there was a later FAQ that actually undid this FAQ.
Specifically to undo it.
Literally, I said the same thing. I was like, you can't do the jump. You can't do Gate of Infinity. You can't do any of these things. I was like, literally. But then it turns out that they've FAQ'd their FAQs so often that we need a chapter approved now because you can't go on their website and figure out what's going on anymore. This has actually been discussed, and currently you can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So back to the point before I went off about intent is the fact that Zangors most of the time, the shield captain is going to want to benefit from fly. He is taking a little bit of a step back because he wants to, his quality number of attacks are with his high strength, his high AP and high damage output. He wants to go snipe certain characters. Zangors are perfectly content to kill every chaff unit in your entire army.
So now that we've talked about two of the major elements that are not available to everybody. So we've painted a picture of the Deep Strike beta. The Deep Strike beta literally said, now when you deep strike, you come in turn 2. So our predictions, we thought they might lift some of the restrictions because they said you can come on turn 1, but you couldn't leave your deployment zone. They still had the restriction that these dudes couldn't take on double move stagger powers, all that stuff, right? That's still in there. So they kind of went harder than we thought. They were like, nope, you can't come in turn 1 for any reasons. But they didn't address the loophole units. I'm going to call them loophole units. They didn't address the Dark Matter Crystal, the On Angel's Wings. They didn't address any of the I'm already on the table move again units. So what's the fix? Do you remove every quote unquote loophole, or do you repeal the beta and just give back Deep Strike to everyone? Haspil, what do you think?
I would have to just say give it to everybody. I mean, that's rather than, I don't know. If they repeal it, we're right back to where we were. We know that was a problem. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Try something new, because if we repeal everything, it's right back to the way it was. So
I'm gonna say let's repeal it. And the only reason why is we are already down the rabbit hole saying every army can't do it. Let's put these other two armies to rest in this one facet of the game and make sure that everybody's on the same playing level. I say repeal it. I'm down to be swayed one way or the other, but that's where I'm at.
I think there's something that we all need to take in consideration here, and it's not like what side of this issue do you fall on. The chapter approved book's already written. It's already either in warehouses or en route to the warehouse itself, right? So what these changes were made potentially, at the 11th hour, like we saw, already future-proofed against what's going to happen in the chapter approved book. Like there's a lot of stuff that we could sit here and talk about with the chapter approved. Like how do they intend to sell it? Like, yeah, we know there's going to be sister beta rules in there, but are they going to have stratagems for everybody? Are they going to have universal stratagems for everybody? And we know there's points changes, but is that enough to get people to buy the book by itself? I don't know. So you got to keep that in mind too. Like, will they update broad stroke update things in the FAQ, or was the FAQ future proofed against, like, for instance, a poison increase for the Castellan? Like it's really kind of hard to say at this point, but either way, we're kind of all just playing with borrowed time till it comes out. And
yeah, no,
I'm just not motivated to play.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we understand that these fixes that we're pitching are not going to come down the pipe. So don't get too excited about it. What we're doing is we're offering our service for free, as we continue to do for years. GW will do it for free. We'll have a discussion and we'll talk about it. There's a couple things we talked about early in the webcast. We're like, oh, that's a great fix. And then we talked about it for 6 minutes. We're like, wait, but then it fucks this, then it fucks that. Huh. Mm-hmm. Like, so basically, just to chime in, do you take away all loopholes or repeal it? I'm in favor of repealing it, the Deep Strike beta, because I liked the way the game played when we all could deep strike and do whatever the fuck we wanted and bring the heats. I thought it was a more exciting game. Things died faster, got through it. I loved it. I loved the excitement of the game. I say, as far as rate of play, I thought it was awesome. It was unrestricted.
Well, it was the Wild Wild West, and that was remember we were calling for a line of sight, like blocking terrain, like tier 1 terrain, tier 2 terrain. Like there was a lot of things that was keeping people from interacting with each other, and I feel like at least people are standing at the table more with the new FAQ. I don't know if they're interacting more, because obviously everybody's taking the most exploitive things to play with, as we've already seen throughout the past summer here, the Summer of Nights, as we'll call it. So it's kind of like almost like a double-edged sword. It's almost like a box of chocolates. You kind of know what you're going to get, but you don't really know which way it's going to go coming out.
Can I comment real quick? Someone in the chat says, is it a bad thing that 2 armies can make a turn 1 assault? First off, more than 2 armies can make a turn 1 assault. What we're discussing specifically is the intent. The intent of the Deep Strike beta is clearly to GW's vision of how the game is played. They clearly don't like someone to swarm somebody with a bunch of units really fast. You saw it with like how they changed Alpha Legion. You saw it with how they changed some of the forward operating and ambushing rules of other units. You saw it with the Deep Strike. So if you're telling me the vision of the game is that you don't want people to put that type of pressure on people, but then you leave like these 2 huge loopholes that now suddenly only 2 people really get to abuse, that is the wrong way to do it because you didn't fix it.
I would just like to put this out there saying if at the Invitational, if I took demons and instead of round 2 against Max Shudman, I didn't have a Banginius on top of a building 17 inches in the air to make a 2-inch charge, but instead I showcased how belligerently broken Zangors can be with the certain buffs that Kenny has already outlined, with the certain stratagems that they have access to. Absolutely, they would be more on the forefront, in my opinion, even though some people still at Nova utilize these units. It's not the same when you put it in the rules writer's face to show them exactly what the concept of these multi-level combos. Anybody can see something once or even two levels. But when you're talking about the 7 things that Kenny said that Zangors can be buffed without stratagems, like that is the actual issue, right? So I feel that if I would end up doing that, then we would see Zangors and this unit more on the nerf bandwagon.
Yeah, like there's an, like I said, I think maybe someone in the chat will talk about. There's an FAQ floating around. It's literally Q&A, and it's literally something like right after the first beta came out. It's literally something like, can something like do units that start on the table count as reinforcements when moving? And they're like, or something along those lines. It's kind of buried. It actually took the community a couple weeks to find it, because I actually heard on Nick Navati's tactics page where he's like, actually the jump, get infinity, all these things, you get fucked. You don't get to do second powers, all these things, because he found the old FAQ. And then there was a new one, but after the last beta and before now, that there was like a literal Q&A in there that unlocked like the people who start on the table being able to do whatever they want.
Yeah, it's all about reinforcements. If you are put on the table and then since then removed to be redeployed, you are not considered as reinforcements. Even
though some of them say you are, and then there's a rulebook FAQ that says you are. There's a later Q&A that undoes those.
If
can you draw this? Can you draw me a schematic?
I will.
Okay.
I would draw a shit show is what I would draw out of schematic. Piece of shit and like
I'll draw a Mike Haspil.
Haspil had a shit show earlier today.
That's right.
Yeah, he did.
And but I think but like in this, for the sake of moving forward, so obviously the Deep Strike beta, love it or hate it, we've outlined in our opinions 2 potential ways to make it more fair and balanced. And those ramifications, you can talk for a billion seconds on what they actually mean for the community. But here's the one everyone wants to talk about, I'm sure, is the fly keyword. How do you fix it? Do you just simply change the wording? ? Juice?
No, I think it comes down. We also have to understand that the concept of a Mortarion model that's 13 inches tall or 9 inches tall with 6-inch wings from tip to tip, we play this game in our head because logic isn't necessarily a thing. But damn it, don't tell me that this man, with whatever movement he has, cannot get up and over a damn, squad of 5 scouts. GW's went as far to say is that demon princes don't actually need to be put on with wings. Back in the day, they can have thick thighs was the actual strong thighs, strong thighs. So they have leaping bounds. So they can have the concept of fly, right? Don't tell me that you have embedded us for 8 editions now to understand what wings, being able to jump over, being able to move across, all these different kind of things and actions that we can do, to where all of a sudden now, 41 years in the future, there's only war and some fly. Sometimes. It's not acceptable. I'm not with it. I'm down to change the verbiage to say legitimate inches matter. If you are 15 inches in the air, to come down, it takes 15 inches. You get to ignore intervening models. We actually even have rules for artillery. They don't ignore cover, but they ignore cover for the purposes of intervening models. Right? Do you guys remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Artillery that didn't, if you were in cover, you still got it, but it ignored cover for the purposes of intervening models that you have to shoot through another unit, right? So like GW has done such an amazing job throughout the years to draw the line in the sand between what is acceptable, what isn't. I am not behind this at all. Damn it, this does not need to happen. I don't want to play in a game of 40K where every model that I believe should be able to jump over, move across. I just don't want 5 scouts, 10 guardsmen to rule the day for all these models that are so cool.
Yeah, I mean, and you can hide pocket scouts anywhere. Like, there's all sorts of different ways to block off those avenues, and it doesn't make any sense when you have somebody like jet bikes, right? You've seen the picture, and then there's like scouts in the way, and then there's like a flyer or an aircraft, and they can't interact.
They can't enter. So like, Rob, this is where I'm at. So shy of the concept of what I did on camera, being 17 inches tall in the air and assaulting and making a 1-inch charge, because I didn't cheat for anybody else. That's literally what the rules wrote. Furthermore, not only is it what the rules wrote, but it's what they outlined, because they specifically talked about that in close combat you don't need to measure vertical distance. This is what they specifically wanted, allegedly. But tell me how many rules that it doesn't even make sense. Tell me how many things it showcases that it doesn't even make sense at all. We've got one instance where the fly concept is abused. All these other concepts, it doesn't even make sense.
So how would you fix it specifically? How would you fix it to make sense?
It doesn't. Fly never stops someone from moving over friendly or enemy models. Vertical inches matter.
All the time, or when assaulting?
All the time. Vertical inches always matter.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'm going to go with that. I think vertical inches always matter.
I'm being an 8th grade boy, and you guys are like talking serious.
I saw you were like, is he talking about girth or length right now? What is he?
I'm sorry, I derailed things.
Yeah, no, but I do. I believe that vertical inches should always matter, right? So if I can fly, I can go up. Maybe I go up for free, or I go up and it costs me stuff, but I can come down for free. I don't know. Like, if you want to go into details like that. But if the one rule and the one exploit in the game is the fact that I can assault, 15 inches in the air, and I can assault you 2 inches away and it costs me 2 inches, then we say that vertical and inches matter. But never in the history of ever is it acceptable for someone who has a jump pack, who has fly, who has a jet pack, a booster, a damn, anything else like that, star flux capacitor, that he cannot leap over friendly or enemy models that are, on 25 mil basis. It just doesn't make sense.
Mm-mm. Yeah, it's very weird. It's not realistic, but we all know how realism comes into play in the 40Ks, right? But still, Fly keyword allows you to ignore friendly and enemy models for the purposes of movement. Furthermore, when measuring vertical distance up and down, actual inches matter. Period.
10-4. I can get behind that. So let's move on to the third part of this. This is an interesting conversation. CP restricted per detachment discussion. This is what a lot of people have been calling for on the interwebs, who are advocating for mono builds specifically, which summarize it is.
I think that's a mischaracterization. I don't think it's a mono build thing.
Right. So a lot of people who are advocating for mono builds are also saying the following thing, which is I want to see CPs restricted to each detachment for the purposes of using stratagems. So basically, it's essentially like how to solve the model build situation, spread to CP wealth, or restrict it. So that's the discussion. Haspil brought it up. Haspil, pitch it.
Yeah. So essentially, when you take all these like stacking CP factions, that I think that's the issue I have with it. Right? Is that people are taking a lot of guard stuff, not because they like guard or want to play guard, but because they can take very cheap, small guard units that give you a ton of CP, and you wind up like not using them for guard stuff. Do you see what I mean? That's kind of what I'm getting at. And so I'm just like, well, your guard CP should be used for guard stuff. And and whatever the Space Marine CPs used for Space Marine stuff. And I understand that hampers some factions, but I'm not really, in that part of the argument, I'm not really seeing the overlap with forcing mono builds. That's independent from that for me anyway. But there is just
to give you a small example of the issue is like, so there's a lot of detachments people use to make their overall army stronger. Use a spearhead detachment, for example. Like let's say I took a Space Wolf spearhead detachment because I want those guns, or I took a Supreme Command detachment from this faction. Suddenly, those detachments become very much less playable if they don't also get to use the CPs that are generated from my one battalion. So that means if we have the discussion on how to restrict CPs, then we also, I think, have to be responsible, like GW would have to be responsible if they ever did this, and talk about how these clutch little detachments play into the overarching theme, because now suddenly you've got like this cool ass heavy weapons unit that has literally one CP. Like it can't do any stratagems. Is that really what they want? Is that, would you even play a spearhead detachment? You know what I mean? That's my point. That's a little point I have.
Right, but it also solves some problems like the Supreme Commander detachment, right? Where people are just taking that to abuse and spam one unit.
So I agree, Haspil, you're absolutely right. I think, though, I believe that creating a rule to eliminate something, but then omitting something else is exactly what they did with Fly. Right, so if we're gonna go into this concept of trying to fix what it is, let's not just patchwork something like they did with Fly. Let's make sure that it really does, for the most part, or not even for the most part, that it benefits and puts everybody in the same playing field. It absolutely does not. If you're telling me, for example, a Grey Knight person, you can't tell me that you don't benefit from having multiple detachments and multiple things. Because Grey Knights are so expensive. Custodians are so expensive. Night Titans are so expensive that if you have 2,000 points, it's almost impossible for you to get more than 10 CP, 8 CP realistically sometimes, right? So unless you're telling me that, CP can only be spent on certain factions, and then there's an additional bonus. I don't know.
There would be an additional bonus because it's what we have now. It's the Battle Forged. It's the Battle Forged CP bonus.
Right?
The +3. So I'm.
The +3 would definitely have to go up.
It has to change.
That would have to change.
It has to change.
Yeah, we don't know what the number would be.
How many CP can you get? If you're Tau, how many CP can you get?
Right now, 18.
Okay.
Yeah, Tau can reliably do 18 if that's what they want, and they can do a really solid brigade for about 1,200 points also, right?
Well,
So it's more than the 770 point guard brigade. Now, Kronz, you're right. Kronz, you're going to be restricted to like, 2
13.
battalions. Yeah, 2 battalions.
A lot of guard, a lot of
three.
yeah.
So that's where I'm at is like, and Custodes is even worse than that. If we're talking like a mono build or something. So I like where I have to admit, and this isn't like just an agreement aspect, I like the concept of CP to, CP restrictions and CP this and that, but like restricting it to just one detachment, then we might as well just, it just really hurts. It's the concept of back in the day, kill points versus victory points. It's always going to hurt the army who's playing victory points, and they only give up 3 kill points, but they're all, 5-man units of paladins,
So I just want to ask Haspil. He's the one who brought up this particular one, and like not just him. Like I said, I've seen this particular just this particular idea on every Facebook chat I'm a part of, every Facebook group. Yep. So this is not just Haspil. This is a lot of people. Like a lot of people are down with this. I would ask Haspil though, like, what is because you've said many times, I want to play my Space Wolves without having to play some fucking guard, even though I own guard. What about that?
I literally have the brigade detachment that everybody spams. I have all that stuff. I have that stuff and more. I have a pretty decent sized guard army. So it has nothing to do with me like buying guard. It's just that when I play guard, I'd like to play guard. And when I play Space Wolves, I want to play Space Wolves. And I'm not saying that there's should be no, like, I'm not saying that there can't be allies, right? But it seems like if you don't play a very specific combination of allies, you're severely penalized.
Which is correct. 100% correct.
And if you are playing an army that has no access to allies, you are severely penalized.
For the most part, 100% correct.
And that's what I think needs to be fixed. I don't have a panacea answer to this.
Okay, so I have a pitch because that's what I wanted to hear from you. I wanted to hear, okay, so like you, Mike Haspil, and I think a lot of people are with you in this camp, is like that exact sentiment. Not that I can't have guard, I have them, motherfucker. Sometimes I just want to play my goddamn Space Wolves and know that like I can do some cool shit too. As a loose argument. So someone did mention earlier, like a mono build bonus, like a mono faction bonus. Like if you're all Space Wolf keyword, you would get this excess amount of CPs. Now we did pick that apart earlier in the webcast, how an arbitrary +10 couldn't just be across the board. You'd have to define it a little bit more. But then I saw something roll up in chat super fast at the end of the webcast. I wrote it down, or in the beginning of the after hours when we were building the show. And it went really fast. I wrote it down because I thought it was super interesting. I didn't see the person's name right when we were going live. And I kind of like it. I can't lie. I like it because one of the things I hated was when they changed who goes first in 40K. Remember, whoever was done deploying first, went first, or had the option to go first. And then they changed it to this fake ass +1. And I've been adamantly against that bullshit since day one because I thought one of the coolest things was that if I bring an army with 400 models in it, I don't get to go first unless you want me to. And obviously some people abused it with like triple fucking Bane Blades and everything like that. But then they said instead you get a +1 to go first, which now means that literally still 50% of the time I go first with a 400 model army is an exaggeration. What if model builds had a plus to go first, an additional plus to go first. So now they like potentially have a +2 to go first, or they just went first. What if you're all the same faction? What if you got some extra bonus to going first? Someone put that in chat and went through quick. And I was like, oh, I fucking like that. Wrote it down. What do you guys think?
So I like that, but immediately I have to shoot the hole in it. And again, it's going to come to our last point is because anything that benefits a mono build book, all it does is make Eldar the most broken army in the history of ever. So I will get behind anything that says mono build is better if we eliminate Eldar. I'm sorry. Like Grey Knights would be massively better. Death Watch, you could play by itself. Dark Angels, you could play by itself. Necrons, all that doesn't mean shit if Eldar, Alatok by itself with a little bit of everything, raffle stomps every army I just said.
Well, that could be that whole like no more neg 1 to hit. You only count as being in cover, just like you had the strat automatically.
They'll never get rid of, I don't believe that, the built-in bonuses like that. We didn't see it. Maybe it's in next year's
Next fall.
Next fall FAQ, but like I just don't believe that they're gonna do it. Not especially because they're still putting out books that give you additional stratagems for a -1. Right? Like, I don't know.
I want to say something that Juice said that I love. When he's like, well, then Eldar's the broken shit, so I can get behind us if it's everyone but Eldar. GW needs to be having those types of conversations because because what Juice said is the opposite of a broad stroke. So I think the smartest thing to do is take a look at what armies are not being represented in competitive play, take a look at why, and then work from in that order. Because a lot of the problems with this FAQ that we're talking about was you can see kind of in the FAQ where they stopped doing that and they were like, we're out of time, broad strokes, big ass paint roller. So I'm with that. Like, why can't we just have a conversation as a rules company about Grey Knights? Like, to use Mike Haspil as an example. Why can't we just have why can't we be like, well, Grey Knights is not being represented well, and why is that? Let's have some real talks. Oh, cool. Maybe they get a bonus. Who else is in that list? Necrons. Maybe they get the bonus. And then we see how that plays out in a beta. And maybe we can do more than one beta a fucking year or a quarter or whatever. Maybe we can do a few because these are easy ones, right? I think that might be the solution to some of these ideas is instead of trying to figure out how to make the words work for every fucking army, why don't we just like go after who's struggling and why and addressing that specifically. That might be the solution.
There it is. So I actually am 100% behind this. I actually don't care to nerf shit where we have to come up with books and rules to tone shit down. Instead, let's come up with books.
I would rather always power
come up to power. So like, tell me how we've nerfed 3 different elements, Storm Ravens, Fly, Deep Strike, anything else. But like you said, Grey Knights still suck ass. Like, why aren't we putting any of the efforts into squashing certain units and elements? Like,
I think you have to strike a balance
Grey Knights,
between the two.
Yeah, if Grey Knights actually were just the Tyrannosauruses that they were 5th edition, shit might just fix itself.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like some of these units that we're talking about and some of these things that just run through stuff like Shining Spears actually might not be that much better if you're telling me 8-man unit of paladins with an apothecary came back to rule the universe again. Right? Like if some things that are bad in the universe are all of a sudden better, if NIDS, didn't start slowly falling off, again, we're going to see it. For anybody who's praising thank you for fixing this Castellan, I'm not going to let a podcast go by, and we're almost done, so I'm going to make sure I put it in here. That damn Castellan is the epitome of a gatekeeper keeping all the demons at bay. When I mean demons, not just demon keyword or chaos keyword. I'm talking about keeping all the bullies of the 40K millennium, at bay. So that man alone. So
yeah, I agree.
I've been quiet because I've been debating some stuff in the chat. And here's the crux of what I was trying to say, because people have misunderstood that I want every single army to be able to do everything. That's not what the game is about. The game has never been like that since its inception. Right? Certain armies have always been good at other things.
And
certain
historically
armies have been good at different phases. But right now, certain armies have access to a set of rules that other armies can't use, period. And that's not imbalanced. That's just freaking broken. That's what I'm getting.
And define what broken means. Broken, we use it almost as a colloquialism for something's good. That's literally the opposite of what it means. Like something being OP is a little bit different than broken, but we kind of use them to mean the same thing.
Right.
When a rule is broken, that is completely different when you really think about it.
And it makes for a very poor gaming experience. And let me get this straight. Like, this is not Magic the Gathering. This is not even Shadespire or Nightvault. If you get rickrolled every single time you play, Skellies in Nightvault or Shadespire, spend $30, buy a different faction, right? Mm-hmm. It's not a big deal. If you're 8,000 points into a faction in this game, you have substantial cash in the game. You have a lot of money. Now, granted, you've already bought the stuff. GW doesn't care about you, right? But then when they create a rule set that says, hey, these armies can almost auto win against you because they have access to command points you can't get because you don't have access to those rules at all because you don't have certain keywords. That's what I'm getting at. That's the crux of what bothers me with the whole CP stratagem system. I love the whole stratagems. I think it's great. But there's something wrong with it.
It goes back to an old argument, Haspil. Let's get some more universal stratagems in the fucking game.
Yeah, well, Kara Quinn was talking about capping CPs. You know what I mean? Like capping them.
Still a broad stroke.
It is a broad stroke, but set it at a certain number, 12 or 14 or something that you can't get over. That would, I don't know if that's the solution. I mean, I'm not throwing out a solution here. I'm just putting and I don't even know what's wrong with it. This is an instinctive thing. My instincts are telling me something's not fair. That's all I can say is that, and yeah, there's always been, some books are better than others and whatever. That's a part of 40K, but this is a core rule that makes certain things unfair.
Oh yeah, we talked about
what I don't. Yeah, there's just something that's what's rubbing me the wrong way. I don't really have a solution to it, but my gut feeling again is that it has something to do with CPs and stratagems. I can't even say exactly what it is.
I guarantee, without a shadow of a doubt, that it is something to do with CPs and stratagems because that is actually the foundation of 8th edition 40K. Everything is basically going to come back to CPs and stratagems. That is how this game works. So there's no way you're not right about that gut feeling that you have. And I think that was one of the sickest conversations we've had because I think it shows that it shows not only that we have some ideas on how to change things, but also we're not sure what needs to be changed. And I think that every rules balancing discussion that a company has should be honest like that. Like that. To me, that's the way to do it.
I love it because it's easy to say, oh, that's terrible. We need to do this. But when you constantly say, okay, well, what do we do? Well, what do we do? Change, just saying something needs to be changed and not putting any concept of how to change it behind it doesn't really hold any weight. So I agree. And you want to know what? And I'm quick to say something is trash or broken or anything else. And I have to admit a lot of Haspil's points and a lot of what people are talking about is exactly they're not wrong. I can't say that like, no, that's wrong. That's terrible. I don't believe that. Like it's so, up in the air and so crazy. It's like, you're absolutely right. The ultimately where we're at talking about it is how and what we can do to fix it, And so that's where I believe with this FAQ, as we just saw BFS, not much, if all, dick all.
Can we transition into the final segment while you're about to hit this? Okay, guys, we have a bonus. A honorable mention here, which Juice touched on earlier in the fly keyword section of this. Leaving Ynnari alone was a major mistake by Juice.
Major mistake. Ladies and gentlemen, are you kidding me? We have over and over and over again. How many books, Robbie B, are there? Are we at like 13 codexes?
Oh no, there's more than that.
Okay, thank you. So we have a billion then,
Yes,
13 to a billion codexes out there. Tell me why and tell me how come the potential book that isn't even out yet, right? With the least amount of fluff, the least amount of lore is one of the most the single most broken there is.
It's very weird.
Bypasses every rule that GW's ever written.
I love that you used the term broken because it's not necessarily overpowered because it didn't win Battle for Salvation. It didn't win the last, couple events. But that doesn't mean it's not broken and it's not riddling the scene with a bunch of bad game mechanics that are making people have bad experiences. And it's not any one single ability as defined with the Zangor discussion that Zangors innately, if you just look at them, are a trash unit. Until this plus this plus this plus this plus this plus this, and suddenly it's not a trash unit. And that's where Ynnari come to fit into the equation because they have the Eldari keyword and they can do all sorts of weird things when they're combined with other craft worlds.
Yeah, and so I will even say to defend the Zangors against the Yanari aspect is it takes a general and 7 combos. Kenny, you rattled off, I believe it was 7 or 8 different names of spells, stratagems, abilities, relics, anything else that would make this unit a unicorn unit, right? To make Yanari overpowered and potentially broken, all you have to do is say they're Yanari and a craft world, right? Like, it's nothing more than that. It doesn't even take a good general to do that.
And one of the major things that they got even more broken, and I think this is a big part, this is why this filters into this FAQ discussion, is because in reference to this FAQ with the fly word restriction, remember we talked about like repealing versus changing loopholes and things like that. Does it apply to everyone? Doesn't apply to everyone? It kind of doesn't apply to them.
Yet again, we're in a situation.
So when we go back to the very first thing we talked about, with the beta FAQ, where it's like, well, if it's only available to these 2 people, it's really busted, right? So currently the fly keyword FAQ doesn't really affect them because of Soul Burst.
Yep. Yet again, Soul Burst, and then they have a psychic ability called Quicken, just like, Warp Time and Wings of Sanguinus. So now that we're on the same page, but now we're saying that every unit in the army can now Soul Burst. Now they can in the assault phase, they can ignore movement with fly and charge. They can do things. It's just, I don't like it. I don't like it.
Well, as we define with the Mephiston discussion, all their shit says as if the movement phase. Correct. And they can do it in every goddamn fucking phase. So this whole jumping over troops not being accessible to people doesn't really apply to them.
Yep. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Movement, psychic, assault, they get to do it all. They get to fly. So would we all agree that for the fly that we once knew, it's gone?
Mm-hmm.
There's a few units in the game that have fake fly, right? That they can do it at a few. They can fly in other phases of the game. But Eldar, Yanari, jet bikes, and units like that have old school fly. And they get to fly every turn. And
to bring it back real quick. I'm sorry to cut everyone off. To bring it back, this is like, remember we're talking about broad strokes versus narrowing the focus. When we talked about fly, we talked about changing the wording in such a way that it applied to everyone, right? So like we kind of already outlined the fix to this, right? So this is one of those situations where not everything is a broad stroke by Juju, but not every ruling or update or FAQ is a broad stroke. Sometimes they're knee jerks. That's a different category. This was a knee jerk. We've talked about it. My man was there watching Juice do it. It was a knee jerk FAQ, and they didn't think about all the other things in the game that say as if we're the movement phase. If you just go back and take a second look at the fly keyword and you just change the wording to be what Juice discussed earlier, suddenly it doesn't matter if it's the movement phase, because you're always accounting for vertical distance and everyone can hop over people. Everyone's happy again.
Yep. I think that will appease a lot of people. I think that's probably one of the biggest points of contention right now is the CPs and the fly. So they definitely need to draw attention to it and either come out with something that's adopted or roll it back. I don't know.
Hey, we don't write the rules. We just play the game and we fucking talk loudly and throw our opinions around at the company that we've dedicated our entire life to.
And let's not get it twisted. I'm going to play these rules no matter what GW.
I got Zangor bombs for days.
Don't make me. I'll play Yanari. I'll do it, damn it. I'm a play whatever rules GW gives me. So it's just our job. Absolutely our job, and we owe it to everyone involved to say exactly how we feel, exactly what we feel some of the issues are, and talk about the boogeyman in the room. And this is where we're at, because knowledge is power, something we talk about in the tactics class all the time, and you're going to hear more and more often, is that if you address the boogeyman if you address the imbalances in the game when it's not game time, you are better armed for every battle that you go into because there is less gotcha bitch moments. And those are the ones that give people the feel badsies.
Good use of every vernacular we use on this podcast in one sentence.
And I feel like I didn't stutter at all. Right
no,
there.
that was your one of your most well presented closing statements to date.
There it is.
That was no fill words. It was beautiful, man. Rob, what do you think? Do you think we nailed it today?
Oh yeah, we found orcs and everything. All right, Haspil, take us out of here.
Yeah, I have a sweet orc quote for everybody. Mutton yesterday, mutton today, and blimey if it don't look like mutton again tomorrow. Oh, my bad. Orcs didn't say that. That was trolls.